What if Neo was in MHA? Chapter 7. The Storm. 13 and Eraserhead, huh? The teacher's schedule we received said that All Might was also supposed to be here. The trespassing this morning was the work of these scumbags after all, Aizawa thought. Where is he? I went through the trouble of bringing this whole crowd, too. All Might. The symbol of peace. And he's not here. I wonder if he'll come if we kill some kids, Shigaraki said. The students began to worry and panic. There's no way they could get into a hero school, Kirishima said. 13, what about the trespasser sensors, Momo asked. We have them, of course, but 13 said. Did they only appear here, or around the whole school? Either way, if the sensors are not responding, that means they have someone with a quirk that can do that. An isolated area separated from the main campus during a time when a class is supposed to be here. They might be fools, but they are not dumb. This surprise attack was carefully planned with some sort of goal in mind, Shoto said. 13, start the evacuation. Try calling the school. These villains even had something to counteract the sensors. It's possible someone with radio wave type powers is interfering. Kaminari. You try contacting the school with your quirk, Aizawa said. Yes sir, Kaminari said. What about you, sir? Will you fight by yourself? With that many, even if you can erase their quirks. Eraserhead's fighting style is capturing after erasing the enemy's quirk. A frontal battle is Ijuku said. You can't be a hero with just one trick. I'm leaving it to you, 13 Aizawa said. Aizawa then jumped down the stairs towards the group of villains and started taking out the villains. Kurogiri. Separate the students, Shigaraki said. As you command, Shigaraki, Kurogiri said. Send the faunus to the mountains. Remember our agreement, a man with a chainsaw said. Yes, yes Lieutenant. You and the white fan get the mutants, Shigaraki said. Don't call us mutants. We are faunus, the lieutenant said. Why do you even want to talk to them? They've already made their choice to hold up this fake society, Shigaraki said. They have been disillusioned by society, they deserve a chance to see the truth and fight for what's right, the lieutenant said. Whatever you say, Shigaraki said. The lieutenant grunted. Kurogiri warped himself and the lieutenant away. Mr. Aizawa was actually good at fighting by himself against a lot of people, Ijuku said. This is no time for analysis. Hurry up and take shelter, Tenya said. The students and 13 then began to head for the exit, but they were stopped by Kurogiri and the lieutenant. Nice to meet you. We are the League of Villains. It may be presumptuous of us, but we have invited ourselves into the home of the heroes, UA High School, in order to have All Might, the symbol of peace, take his last breath. I believe All Might should have been here. Has there been some kind of change? Well, that is neither here nor there. This is the part I am to play, Kurogiri said. Did you consider that you'd get beaten by us before you did it? Bakugo yelled, charging at them with Kirishima. I'll cut you down to size, you twerps, the lieutenant said, revving his chainsaw. The lieutenant swung his chainsaw, Bakugo dodged to the left and Kirishima hardened his skin and took the blow. You can't cut me down, Kirishima yelled. Good thing that's not our job, the lieutenant said. Move away, you two, 13 said. We are here to scatter you all and torture you to death, Kurogiri said. Kurogiri then surrounded the students in mist and warped some of them away. Ijuku found himself falling into the water rescue area. Ijuku splashed into the water. A villain then went to attack him. Luckily Zu came in, kicking the villain and grabbing Ijuku with her tongue. She then put Ijuku on a boat that was in the middle of the water rescue area. Zu then climbed up the side of the boat. Thanks, Ajue, Ijuku said. Call me Zuzu said. Ah, so you were transported here too, Cinder said. Cinder, they sent you here too, Ijuku asked. I'm standing right before you, am I? Now let me dry you off, Cinder said. Cinder then got up close with Izuku and used her quirk to evaporate the water. Izuku blushed as Cinder's body was pressed against his. This has turned into a bad situation, Zu said. What the villain said earlier. All Might should have been here. Has there been some kind of change, Cinder asked. They knew you.s. Schedule. Looking at the big picture, those guys must have set up the media intrusion this morning to get information, Izuku said. But they can't possibly be able to kill All Might, can they, Cinder asked. But don't you think they are trying so hard because they have a way to kill him? Guys that strong just told us they would torture us to death, you know. I wonder if we'll be able to hold out until All Might arrives. Even if All Might comes, I wonder if we will all make it out in one piece, Zu said. A bunch of villains then surrounded the boat. If those guys have a way to defeat All Might, then right now, we should be stopping whatever they are planning. By fighting and winning, Izuku said. Meanwhile, in the mountain zone, Shuji, Ojiro, Mina, Koda and Tokoyami were all surrounded by members of the White Fang. Brothers and sister, you've been given the prestigious opportunity to fight for what's right, for a better tomorrow, the lieutenant said. Who are you? And why are you all dressed in the same outfit? You part of a boy band or something? Mina asked. What? How ignorant are you to not know who we are? The lieutenant asked. They are members of the White Fang, Shuji said. Well, at least someone isn't living under a rock, the lieutenant said. A terrorist organization that thinks mutants are superior and want to erase all non-mutants, Shuji said. We are not mutants, that name was given to us by those who wish to see us erased from existence. We are Faunus, a name chosen by us, for us, the lieutenant said. Call yourself whatever you want. You're still terrorists, Shuji said. It seems you've made your choice. The rest of you, if you join us, you will not be harmed and treated for who you are, and not what you are, the lieutenant said. You are the true incarnation of darkness. And unfortunately for you, I grow more powerful in the darkness, Tokoyami said. There's no way I'm going to throw away my chance to become a hero to be a terrorist, Mina said. I'm with her, Ojiro said. Koda nodded. It's too late for you then. You're too far gone to save. Brothers and sisters, take out the traitors, the lieutenant said. In the collapse zone, Bakugo, Kirishima and Neo were taking out villains. Back in the water zone. So, you have a plan to get out of this then, Cinder asked. Those guys down there are clearly assuming we'll fight in the water, right? Does that mean they knew what was in these facilities before they gathered people, Zu asked. Yeah. For people who gathered that much intel so meticulously, there's something strange. They sent you, Zu, to the shipwreck zone. This means, in other words, the villains probably don't know what our quirks are, Izuku said. That's true. They wouldn't have sent you to the shipwreck zone, Cinder said. Yeah, if they knew I was a frog then they probably would have thrown me into that fire zone over there, Zu said. They probably separated us because they didn't know our quirks, so they planned to overpower us with numbers. We have inferior numbers and less experience. Our only hope lies in the fact that our opponents don't know what our quirks are. The enemy isn't trying to climb the boat. That supports my hypothesis. But that probably means they aren't underestimating us, either, Izuku said. Well, it seems they've lucked out with me. Whilst my quirk isn't extinguished by water, pun intended, this much water is too much, Cinder said. Can't you fly us out? Like you did in training, Izuku asked. Sorry, but no. I'm not skilled enough to fly far enough to get us to safety, and I can't fly with the both of you, Cinder said. Zu. Could you maybe jump from here to the shore, Izuku asked. No, I may be a frog, but I can't jump that far, Zu said. And I can't fly or jump that far with my quirk, it's a double-edged sword, I can't jump out of here without destroying my body, Izuku said. One of the villains then split the boat in half, and the ship began to sink. We don't have much time now. We better think fast, Cinder said. That's it, Izuku said. Ha, Cinder said. When I jump, Zu, you hold on to Cinder and jump after I give the signal. And then Cinder, use your quirk to give us the boost we need to get away, Izuku said. What, Cinder and Zu said. We don't have much time. Trust me, Izuku said. Cinder and Zu nodded. Izuku then jumped from the boat. As he approached the water, he aimed his finger at the water. He flicked his finger using 100% of one for all, creating a giant whirlpool. Zu then jumped holding Cinder. Zu then used her tongue to grab Izuku. Cinder then used her quirk to blast themselves to the shore. They managed to get away unscathed, apart from Izuku's broken finger. The three had splashed down near the shoreline closest to the plaza. After all that time spent drying us off, we're all now wet again, thanks Izuku, Cinder said. Sorry, Izuku said. Oh, I don't mind being wet with you, Cinder said, causing Izuku to blush. You two can flirt later, look, Zu said. The three looked to see that Aizawa had defeated most of the villains in the main plaza. Shigaraki then rushed at Aizawa. Aizawa charged towards Shigaraki and elbowed him in the gut, but Shigaraki managed to grab Aizawa, and had his hand on his elbow. It's hard to see because you keep moving around, but there's an instant when your hair falls. That's when you have finished an action. And the space in between has gotten shorter and shorter. Don't push yourself, Eraserhead, Shigaraki said, as Aizawa's elbow. Aizawa then punched Shigaraki and backed off. Other villains then attacked Aizawa. That quirk isn't suited for fighting long fights against a large group, is it? Isn't this too different from your usual job? What you're good at is a short fight after a surprise attack, right? Even so, you jumped right in to fight us from the front. Was that to put your students at ease, Shigaraki asked. Aizawa then took out the villains that surrounded him. You're so cool. By the way, hero. I'm not the last boss, Shigaraki said. A giant creature with a bird-like face was now stood over Aizawa. The creature then attacked Aizawa and pinned him to the ground. I'll tell you, Eraserhead. He's the anti-symbol of peace, the bioengineered Nomu, Shigaraki said. The Nomu broke Aizawa's arm. You can erase quirks, that's wonderful, but it's nothing impressive. In the face of overwhelming power you might as well be quirkless, Shigaraki said. Aizawa activated his quirk, but it did little to stop the Nomu from breaking him like a twig. The Nomu then grabbed the back of his head and slammed it into the ground. Kurogiri then appeared next to Shigaraki. Shigaraki Tamura, Kurogiri said. Kurogiri, did you kill 13? Shigaraki asked. I put 13 out of action, but there were students that I was unable to disperse and one of them was able to run away, Kurogiri said. Kurogiri. You. If you weren't a warp gate, I would have crushed you to pieces. We can't win against dozens of pros. It's game over. Man, it's game over this time. Let's go home, Shigaraki said. They are going home. Did he say they are going home? Zu asked. That's what I heard, Izuku said. You're going to flee. All Might hasn't even shown up yet. I can't fail, Salem, Cinder thought. I have a bad feeling about this, Cinder said. Oh, yeah. Before we leave, let's smash some of his pride as the symbol of peace, Shigaraki said, looking at the three. Shigaraki then ran towards them and placed his hand on Zu, but nothing happened. You really are cool. Eraserhead, Shigaraki said. Aizawa had managed to use his quirk to disable Shigaraki's, but then the Nomu smashed his face to the ground. Izuku then moved to punch Shigaraki. He activated 100% in his arm. Let go of her. Smash, Izuku yelled. A giant gust of wind then blew through the facility. Izuku then realized that his arm wasn't broken, but then he noticed that the Nomu had taken the blow. You moved well. Your smash. Are you a follower of All Might's? Oh well. I'm done with you, Shigaraki said. The Nomu then went to grab Izuku, but the cinder shot a stream of fire, burning Shigaraki's hand and forcing Shigaraki back and burning the Nomu's back. You bitch, Shigaraki yelled. Zu! Grab him, Cinder yelled. Zu did so, with her tongue. Cinder then grabbed Zu and the fired a blast of fire, sending the three of them flying off into a forest area. Nomu! After them, and kill them, but bring the black-haired girl back to me. I will deal with her personally, Shigaraki said. The Nomu moved off, but then the doors to the USJ blew open. Emerging from the dust was the #1 hero. All Might. Have no fear, students. I am here, All Might said. All Might then blitzed down to the main plaza and defeated some of the villains and rescued Aizawa. Sorry, Aizawa, All Might said. All Might then placed Aizawa near the forest zone. All Might turned to face the last 3 remaining villains in the plaza. Carolina, All Might said, charging at Shigaraki. Nomu, Shigaraki said. The Nomu then stood in All Might's path. Smash, All Might yelled. However, the attack appeared to do nothing to the Nomu. All Might continued to punch the Nomu, but they had no effect. Meanwhile, in the forest zone, Izuku came to find himself in something soft. Not again. Neo, why do you, Izuku said, but then realizing he was in Cinder's chest. Cinder then came to. Hello there, Cinder said. Cinder, Izuku blushed. Well, are you just gonna lay there or are you gonna get up, Cinder said. Right. Sorry, Izuku said. Izuku then got out of Cinder's chest. Where are we, Izuku asked. I believe we are in the forest zone, Cinder said. Right. You blasted us away from the hand guy and that creature, Izuku said. Zu then came to. Zu. Are you alright, Izuku asked. Yeah. I'm fine. We should make our way to the entrance, Zu said. But what about Mr. Aizawa, Izuku said. Izuku. I hate to say this, but he's probably dead. That thing has probably killed him, Cinder said. The 3 then felt a shockwave. That power, only one person has that type of power. All Might is here, Izuku said. We're saved. Now let's make our way to the exit. Hopefully All Might was able to save Mr. Aizawa, Zu said. The 3 then got up, but as Cinder stood, she fell on Izuku in pain. Cinder. What's wrong, Izuku asked. My leg. It hurts to stand on, Cinder said. Is it broken, Zu asked. Do I look like a doctor? I don't know, it just hurts to stand on, Cinder said. Best not to stand on it either way. I'll carry you to the exit, Izuku said. Izuku then put Cinder on his back and then they started to walk back to the main plaza. The 3 exited the forest to see All Might fighting the Nomu. They then noticed Aizawa on the ground. Mr. Aizawa, Zu said, checking in him. He's out cold. We should get him to the entrance, Zu said. Right. Zu, you take care of Cinder. I'll carry Aizawa, Izuku said. Zu then took Cinder off Izuku and Izuku picked up Aizawa. They then began to make their way to the exit. Izuku continued to look back at the fight. All Might then grabbed the Nomu and suplexed it, kicking up a load of dust. However, when the dust cleared, the Nomu had grabbed All Might thanks to Kurogiri warp gate. Were you trying to keep him from moving by sticking him deep in the concrete? You won't be able to stop him like that. Because Nomu is as strong as you are. This is good, Kurogiri. It's an unexpected opportunity, Shigaraki said. All Might then let go of the Nomu and tried to break free from his grasp. This is your first offense. You'd better prepare yourselves, All Might said. Kurogiri, Shigaraki said. I do not want blood and guts overflowing within me, but I would be happy to take in someone as great as you. You are too fast to see with the human eye. Restraining you was Nomu's job. And then, when your body is halfway in, to close the gate and tear you apart is my job, Kurogiri said, as All Might was being pulled in between Kurogiri's warp gate. Zu. Hold on to Aizawa for me, Izuku said. Okay, Zu said. Zu then took Aizawa off Izuku. What are you, Cinder asked. Izuku then ran off towards All Might. All Might, Izuku yelled. Izuku then fired rubber bullets at the Nomu. It wouldn't do anything, but he hoped it would make it let go of All Might to go after him. As Izuku got closer, Kurogiri appeared in front of him. Bakugo appeared and pinned Kurogiri to the ground, whilst Shoto froze one half of the Nomu. All Might was then able to break free of the Nomu's grasp. Kirishima and Neo then attacked Shigaraki. Kirishima missed, but Neo was able to stab Shigaraki in the leg, forcing him back. Stop acting so stuck up, Foggy Nobody, Bakugo said. The symbol of peace cannot be killed by the likes of you, Shoto said. Kurogiri, our exit and entrance has been overcome. We're in a pinch. Nomu, Shigaraki said. The Nomu then simmed out of the warp gate, and its frozen side broke off. But then the Nomu began to regenerate. Get back, everyone, All Might yelled. Nomu, we need to get our gate back. Go, Shigaraki said. The Nomu then charged at Bakugo, but then it fell to the ground. They then saw that a glass arrow was now through the Nomu's brain. Izuku looked to see Cinder holding a glass bow. You bitch. You've ruined everything, Shigaraki yelled. The Nomu then began to turn to dust. It's over. You've lost. Give up now, All Might said. Shigaraki put his hands up, but then, one of the villains from the shipwreck zone shot a stream of water at Bakugo, freeing Kurogiri. Kurogiri quickly warped the three of them away. Meanwhile in the mountain zone, Shuji, Ojiro, Mina, Koda and Tokoyami had defeated several White Fang members, but they weren't unscathed. Kurogiri, Shigaraki and the water villain then appeared next to the lieutenant. Lieutenant. Our weapon has been destroyed, Shigaraki said. What? But you said it was designed to kill All Might, the lieutenant said. Just shut up. We need to leave before, Shigaraki said. Several bullets then hit the remaining White Fang member. Kurogiri blocked the shots aimed at them. The teachers arrive, Shigaraki said. All right. Get us out of here, the lieutenant said. Yes. But first, Shigaraki said. Down in the main plaza, everything had calmed down and everyone began to relax. Thanks for your help, young heroes. Now, go join the rest of your class and have any injuries taken care of, All Might said. Right, the students said. The students then began to leave, but then Izuku noticed a black portal appearing behind All Might and Shigaraki coming through. All Might. Watch out, Izuku yelled. Izuku the launched himself using 100%. Izuku grabbed Shigaraki's arms, but then another warp gate appeared, and a chainsaw then sliced through Izuku's left arm. Izuku screamed out in pain, and now with his right arm free, Shigaraki placed his hand on the left side of Izuku's face and it started to turn to dust. Young Midoriya, All Might yelled. All Might moved to grab Shigaraki, but he was gone before he could grab Shigaraki. Izuku then fell to the ground, blood spilling from his wound. Young Midoriya. No, All Might yelled. End of chapter 7.